Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey, Jason, Dylan, Mel, John, Pauline. Third episode of the season, talking some AL Central. But before we talk about the teams, we got to talk about a player who deserves a lot of hate right now, and quite frankly, two players, Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I'm updating my list. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, number one pitcher in baseball.
It's truly disturbing to see that he's joining the team. They're both joining Team USA, and Skubal will pitch in one game, and Skeens will only pitch in two.
And Corey, would those be the meaningful games?
No, those won't be the meaningful games. Those will be like the early round, like the round robin prelim games.
Put an asterisk by their name. Take the jersey off. They are not a part of Team USA. They're a part of preseason Team USA. It'd be one thing if these guys were like, hey, in the early round robin, we're not risking injury. We're too important to our teams, yada, yada. We're staying at training camp. We're coming late. But when you guys need us, we'll be there. This is like reverse Avengers. This is like if Captain America was writing parking tickets and then Thanos came and this dude said, nah, I'm out. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Even if it wasn't some big deal, why put that news out there? It only can make you look bad if you're Skeens and Skubal. Like if Skubal made one start and just say, hey, I need to get back to camp, just make an excuse. Don't put it out there to make it seem like, hey, I'm entering the final year of my deal. I don't want to get hurt. Then you shouldn't be playing on this roster in the first place.
You're just taking away a roster spot, too, from one, somebody who could help the team, but two, if this is your attitude, somebody who deserves it more than you.
And it's like the teams don't have a lot of starting pitching to begin with without those two.
Yeah, without those two.
Logan Webb, Kershaw.
Logan Webb, Kershaw, Nolan McLean, Joe Ryan, Matthew Boyd, Michael Wacha, and the team's probably going to have to use Clay Holmes in some starter level capacity as well. Again, the United States is not at some massive advantage in the WBC that it's like when the NBA was just dominating like the Olympics and we were just killing in that and we started sending college players and we were still winning gold medals. That's not to the level that the U.S. They didn't win last time. Yeah, so the team isn't good enough to be losing its two of their three biggest assets. I mean, you'd argue these two and Judge. But going into a winner-take-all game against a Japan potentially, now the Team USA would be completely undermanned in terms of starting pitching.
I mean, maybe you then convince a Skubal or a Skeens to come back.
Well, are they allowed to go away and then return? Like, what's the policy here? Can we bully them on the internet right now into staying?
I think at this point in spring training, those phones are locked away.
Like, does Livy Dunn also hate America? Or is it just Paul Skeens?
It might be all three of them.
I mean, came off
of to Toronto confirmed because he hates America.
I mean, we just came off of Team USA in men's hockey laying it all on the line.
And women's hockey.
Yep.
And women. Canada in the gold medal match.
Correct, but the point I was about to say was specific to men's hockey. I know that's a whole debacle, but my point being here was they laid it all on the line. One of the best players in the NHL mid-season, Jack Hughes, loses a tooth. It was just gone. Sidney Crosby on the Penguins right now, who are doing decent, gets hurt fighting for his country. These guys lay it out there. And, we try and keep it a PG podcast, but Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal are wusses? I don't know, something that definitely maybe you'd refer to a cat as? I mean, that's what these two are.
Definitely Scooble for being in a
No,
contract.
Skeens too. Oh,
Well, no.
I'll play two meaningless games.
Well, no. Definitely Scooble, who in a contract year taking that roster spot where if you were all worried about getting hurt, don't join the team in the first place. And then you have Skeens on the other hand. Sure, he'll make 2 starts, but you're on a rookie deal. You're still secure for the next couple years. Even if
you're Paul Skeens, even if you blew your UCL in these games, guess what? Somebody would still pay you a monster deal.
And you still have a lot of years.
And by the way, you're probably just as much risk in these games as you are in all the Pirates training sessions you're going to go back to.
It's weird because it's like they'd rather them. It's like go and do this stuff in spring training in the sessions and get hurt there than for the U.S. team.
The part that pisses me off the most is that right there. Listen, if you don't want to play because you'd rather not get hurt and you are more concerned about the MLB season, fine. Don't play at all. Don't take away a roster spot just to say I was part of Team USA when you're not actually going to be a part of Team USA.
Yeah, and it's like you had a lot of players this year who wanted to play, but they couldn't get insurance, so they couldn't play. Like
Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa.
I think Trout.
Yeah, and then these guys are wasting the opportunity.
Like you don't hear this from any.
And they're letting us down as Americans.
They could have taken a play out of the Olympics and fight hard, not let it matter, and that's in the middle of their season. This is at the beginning of ours.
I just don't see why they can't just not just stay at the Pirate training camp and Tigers training camp until the team needs them in the actual meaningful games and just pitch their 1 and 2 games then.
But then that's also not fair to the guys that got them into that position as well.
Yeah, but it would make more sense. It would make more sense. At least you're using them in the game because now if they're playing these pretty
and
much
let's
games,
be realistic. They're obviously the
games,
two best pitchers in baseball. So I think we would take them. When I first saw the reports, I didn't realize that their games that they were being limited to were the less meaningful ones. I thought basically what they were saying was, hey, I'm not pitching in these round robin games. You can use my start that I'm willing to give in elimination games. That's what I thought was going. That's why when we had the pre-show meeting, I wasn't really annoyed by it until you clarified to me that no, they're just wasting it early.
Like Scooble, his 1 start is going to be versus Great Britain.
If he gives up a run, he should just quit. Just quit baseball.
Here's Scooble's quote, by the way, when he announced that he's making 1 start. Scooble says, "I'm making 1 start. The reason I didn't announce it earlier was I wanted to keep the momentum on the WBC, but I'm just making 1 start, and then I'll stick around for a few games. I haven't determined what games I'm going to watch. If they go to the finals, I think I'm going to try to lobby to just go watch and be with the guys. But yeah, I'm just making 1 start and getting back on track, getting back to here in Detroit." And it looks like he's going to make his 1 start against Great Britain.
Yeah, who their best player is Jazz Chisholm Jr. So, thanks. We could have easily won that one with anybody else. Just an absolute waste and a disgrace from Tarek Scooble and Paul Skeens as well.
Absolutely.
They hate America.
It's looking like that's very possible. Now, what Skeens is doing, he's going to make a Grapefruit League debut on Wednesday against the Braves for the Pirates. And then he's going to pitch in one of Team USA's exhibitions next week in Arizona. The U.S. will face the Giants on Tuesday, the Rockies on Wednesday. So he's likely to pitch one of those 2 games. And then one
thank
more.
God you get out there for the Rockies game.
Skeens said that we win, we go as far as we should. I'll pitch again in the tournament. But I think that's in reference to his 2nd start, not as opposed to.
I'm going to pump the brakes on Skeens a little bit then. If Paul Skeens is willing to pitch in a big game or big games for the U.S., because it sounds like he's leaving the door open. He's like, I'll pitch in a game that matters, but then imagine they make the finals, and I feel like he could be convinced to throw a little bit in those. So I'll pump the brakes a little bit on Paul Skeens hates America,
but
Tarek
definitely
Skubal hates America, and John, you should be ashamed for having Skubal ahead of Paul Skeens on your list a couple weeks ago when we ranked starting pitchers. This is exactly what me and Corey were talking about.
I don't think this is what you were talking about.
I think Scubal's fallen out of contention for the Cy Young. I think he lost about $150 million on his next contract.
I don't even want him in a Yankee. I don't even want him in a Yankee uniform anymore.
I don't think the Dodgers want him either.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he's helping out. Never mind. maybe I shouldn't go with that. I'm just saying he's hurting Team USA, and the Dodgers don't mainly have Team USA players.
I mean, they do have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, who have both played for Team USA in the past.
Maybe he's already working with some of his new Dodger teammates.
But I think that Skubal is making an issue. I think Freeman, he's played on Team Canada, not Team USA, Freddie Freeman. But he's not playing this year due to personal reasons.
I think the Skubal is going to use it as leverage for his contract. He's going to go in and be like, I pitched a shutout game against Great Britain, WBC, like pay me more.
If he used that as leverage, I'd almost not want to sign him because I'm like, oh, so this guy is an idiot.
Who's got a better roster, Team Great Britain or the Rockies?
I think the Rockies do. I feel like I take the Rockies.
And no shade at Great Britain, but yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really embarrassing. You know, the WBC will be starting Thursday, March 5th.
I hope he gets leveled.
But we still win in after our relievers stabilize it. He gets lit up, but we still win the game.
Yep.
But players are probably going to start to leave camp in the coming days to get ready to play. Spring training has officially started, which is fun. The season starts in less than a month.
It's fun unless you're Corey on day one of Yankee spring training and Gotham Sports app is broken.
You know how many times it's happened already? Spring training, the first Yankee game was Friday. It has gone down at least twice that I know of where
we talked about this last season. I had the Gotham Sports app to watch all the Yankee games. I canceled it for a myriad of reasons. One, it doesn't work. Two, when it does work, maybe a minute or two behind. I'm not talking just a few seconds. Like Corey would have to wait for me to text him about something that happened. I'd text him and we'd be two batters past, like in cable time.
Yeah, like there's been times where I would have to wait for Dylan to text me, "Oh, Judge hit a home run," but it would be the other half of the inning already.
Like it was just like it's so far behind that you are better off using an illegal streaming site.
It doesn't work. It's crashed. I know locally to me also, MLB Network isn't carried by my cable provider anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we could get into a whole other podcast of why MLB is failing in terms of it's not available to watch.
Side note on that, too. MLB TV is now awful because they're now housed by ESPN Unlimited. So you can't just pay MLB TV. You have to pay for another level of ESPN to watch, all the spring training and all the games, where like I would donate to the MLB PA Alumni Association, get a discount code and get like $60 or whatever it is to be able to watch any game all season, spring training, regular season for every team. Now I can't because it has to be done through ESPN. And so that on top of the Gotham Sports app, which is where the Yankees stream their games, and not all their games in spring training are on TV. They're not on Yes Network. They're on the Gotham app, the majority of them. Well, and for them not being able to have their fans watch, like I'll go on Twitter and look like, is Gotham down? And it's just people complaining that they just can't watch the games because there's blackouts, or not even blackouts, just the app's down. They're not giving us the proper, permissions to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, two of the first four games, nobody was able to watch a couple innings, and then it comes back. It's just frustrating, especially in the age of technology we're in. How hard is it to make a working app? The MLB app is pretty solid for watching games. Why can't the Gotham app? You have,
And if you're not going to have one, then make your stuff available on the MLB app, Yankees.
right. Like,
if you can't make a good app, then too bad. Give the rights to a different app.
just do something. Give the fans, throw them a bone. Do something good for once. But some other free agency news as we need to start to discuss. Griffin Canning signed a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with San Diego. Ramon Urias signed a 1-year, $2 million deal with St. Louis. And then Chris Sale signed a 1-year, $27 million extension with the Braves.
Nice.
Any comments?
I mean, no.
No.
For the teams that matter, Sale back to Atlanta is good for them. We haven't discussed them yet, so don't want to jump too much into previewing them. I like Ramon Urias, but I think the Cardinals don't matter this year, so maybe he gets moved at the deadline.
So then let's get into our AL Central talk. Last year, the AL Central was won by the Cleveland Guardians. They had a record of 88-74. Tigers came in second, 87-75. Royals in third after a 2024 playoff berth. They were 82-80. The Twins, 70-92. They were sellers. And the White Sox, one of the most embarrassing teams of all time, they were 60-102. Detroit was the 6th seed, but they did beat the 3-seeded Cleveland Guardians 2-1 in the AL Wild Card Series.
Electric Wild Card Series.
Electric. Seattle, they went on to beat Detroit, though, 3-2 in the 5-game ALDS. So that's where they stood in the playoffs. Pretty nothing.
Yep. Nothing too crazy out the Central.
So let's go on to the Chicago White Sox and discuss a little bit about them. They were the bottom of the barrel. They're hoping to get up. They were one of the worst teams I've ever seen. In free agency, they added Eric Fetty, a starter, 1 year, $1.5 million. Austin Hayes, the outfielder, 1 year, $6 million. Sir Anthony Dominguez, who says he's joining the White Sox so he can learn how to win. I can't stop repeating that. Left, I believe he was a Philly.
He was a Blue Jay.
Blue Jay,
He was just on a team that was in the World Series. He just pitched in the World Series. I think he pitched in Game 7.
Two teams that are known for not winning and doing anything recently, right?
And I think he was on the Phillies when the Phillies were in the World Series too in 2022.
So he's played in 2 of the last 4 World Series?
And he wants to go to the White Sox so he can win. 2 years, $20 million for him. Sean Newcomb, the reliever, 1 year, $4.5 million. Anthony Kay, another reliever, 2 years, $12 million. And then Munetaka Murakami from Japan. He's a first base, third base, corner infielder.
Honestly, 2 years, signing they had, I think.
2 years, $34 million. They traded for Jordan Hicks from Boston. Luis Angel Acuna came over from the Mets. And Chris Murphy also came over from Boston. They lost Cam Boozer, a reliever, to Tampa. Mike Tauchman, an outfielder, he's with the Mets now. Michael A. Taylor, one of their outfielders, he's still in free agency, but it doesn't look like he's coming back. Miguel Castro, another reliever, still in free agency. So if you're not good enough to make the White Sox, what team are you good enough to make?
The Rockies.
Then Luis Robert, he got traded to the Mets. And Steven Wilson got traded to Tampa. First question I really want to ask you guys is how will the focus on development? You have Kyle Teal, Colson Montgomery. How will that be affected by the lack of overall talent in the past losing seasons? They don't have a culture of winning right now.
No, I do think that this White Sox team is better than last year's White Sox team, which bar's pretty low, but I do think overachieved it. I do think that they become kind of interesting to watch. I view them in a similar light to how I viewed the Washington Nationals 2 years ago when they first started acquiring some of their younger pieces. And I thought, let's see what some of the development is here with Colston Montgomery. I think Acuna, who they got in that deal from Robert from the Mets, is an interesting name to watch here as he'll now get consistent everyday play in Chicago. At least he should. And then the big free agent signing, Murakami, a guy who we don't know, but I'm happy for the White Sox and White Sox fans that they were in on such an interesting target, and they're now one, having a player worth watching, two, in the Japanese market, and we'll see where that takes them. And three, this is a team that it wasn't a big step, but they took a step towards being competitive this year. I think that they took a step in the right direction. So I honestly think that the development of their younger players isn't going to be all that bad because you have some decent vets in Austin Hayes and Andrew Benintendi who are on the team. You bring in a Murakami who's an exciting piece, and then you have a lot of young guys who could step up and take roles. Are you a Washington Nationals? Could you go as far as to be similar to the Athletics who had Jacob Wilson and other players, Kurtz break out? Or are you just kind of housing talent that's not going to develop? That's what we get to see this year.
I think they're kind of more like they're kind of looking like how the Athletics kind of were a couple of years ago, and kind of maybe about a year away from where the Cardinals are now. Just don't really know what they have with some of these guys, and a lot of the stuff is, I mean, some of these guys like Murakami could be huge for them and stuff because he is I think can be a prolific power hitter and was over in Japan. The problem is, I think that he's catching up to like the fastballs in MLB, like the actual velocity and stuff, and that's why they wanted him. A lot of teams wanted him in the AAA for a year or two to develop, but he wanted to start, and the White Sox were like, "Come start for us."
And
so like they can't.
Like, it's still.
I mean,
Chicago, by the way. Like I know the Cubs are Chicago's team, but like we talked about this when we talked about the Angels. Just because LA is the Dodgers town doesn't mean you shouldn't be trying to use your city to your advantage. Exactly. Chicago is a big market, and the White Sox use that to their advantage. They have, I mean, Murakami, what's he going to bat for this team? Third? I mean, he's probably already just going into the main spot for this team. Maybe they ease him into it, but that's where they want him to be.
I mean, you can only go up. If you're a White Sox fan, I think you should be happy because it's like you can't get much worse than where you are now. It's only up. Like you can only go up from here.
The
and
starting if you're already pitching still worries me a little bit. I don't see. I still think they're going to allow a lot of runs. The bullpen, they improved it, but it's still Sir Anthony Dominguez and Jordan Hicks as like your.
Dominguez is like a winner.
I mean, we'll see. Again, you won 60 games last year. You lost over 100. There's a lot of work to do. It's not a big leap, but it's a step in the right direction.
Now, for the White Sox, what needs to happen for them to have a successful season, and what should a successful season look like for them?
Pitching.
I mean,
What
I don't think there's a number of wins on a successful season. If I'm a White Sox fan this year, I don't think I'm counting W's. I think I'm counting over under 2.5 players that I think are core pieces of the future. If that number is over, if Murakami, Montgomery, Acuna, if all three of those guys say hit, and I felt like as a White Sox fan, those are core pieces of the lineup going forward, I would consider this season a win. Or you substitute it out and say that there's other people. But if I leave this season as a White Sox fan thinking we got 3 guys that are really strong and worth building around, I would say that is a win for them. In terms of a number, if you wanted to say, oh my God, the White Sox had an amazing season, it's going to sound like such a backhanded compliment, but 70 wins. If they got to 70, I would say like they probably had a really great year for where they were at.
I feel like if you get to 70 wins and you have some really fun games you put out there where the offense just kind of goes off.
Especially if it starts in the second half of the year.
Yeah. Kind of, if you're just kind of are like kind of how the Athletics were, where they just start being like a fun team to watch and stuff. I mean, it's just a win.
Right. Be pesky.
But, yeah.
Be the Athletics from last year. That would be a win.
That would be a win. Yeah, just be the Athletics from last year.
All right. Now going on to another team who's disappointed, the Twins. They added in free agency Taylor Rogers, the reliever, 1 year, $2 million. Victor Caratini, a catcher, 2 years, $14 million. Josh Bell to play first base, 1 year, $7 million. Julian Merriweather, another reliever, was added to the roster. They traded for Anthony Banda, a reliever from the Dodgers. Tristan Gray, infielder from Boston. Eric Wagaman, infielder, outfielder from Miami, and then Alex Jackson, another catcher from Baltimore. They did lose Michael Tonkin into free agency. He's still out there, but that reliever is not getting many bites. Christian Vasquez, another guy on their roster last year, he's still a free agent, the catcher. Edward Julian, infielder, he got traded to Colorado. Johnny Pareda, a catcher, he got traded to Seattle. And Pearson Ole, he was a pitcher, and he was also traded to Colorado. For the Twins, how will they cope with losing their ace, their starter, Pablo Lopez, for the whole season with Tommy John? And who needs to step up other than Joe Ryan in this rotation?
I mean, I think everybody has to step up in the rotation. To just put it blankly, I don't think that there's one guy. I'm sure John's looking at a Mick Abel like, hey, can you crack that rotation, my guy? For me, the ceiling of this team, like kind of every year we've talked about the Twins on the podcast, comes down to the health of Byron Buxton and Royce Lewis. If those two guys could give you over 140 games, maybe you could sniff a wild card. If not, and when they probably don't, you probably won't be a playoff team. I think the Twins should kind of rip the Band-Aid off the way that the Cardinals did and just say, screw it. We're going to be bad for a little while. Like, let's get all the prospects we can. Let's move Buxton. Let's move Royce Lewis. Let's move Joe Ryan and see what kind of hauls we could get back.
I mean, it almost seemed like last year they were kind of getting ready to kind of gut the team a bit at the trade deadline there with offloading a lot of their players.
They moved off Correa, which I believe was the right move for them.
Yeah. Duran got traded, Griffin Jacks.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we see just kind of the Band-Aid fully ripped off at this deadline, and the three guys that I mentioned get moved.
Where would we see, a good landing spot for those three guys?
Well, Joe Ryan's probably going to be whichever contending team had a starting pitching injury. I mean, that would probably be the team that's going to put their chips on the table for him. Royce Lewis at third base is interesting.
The injuries will probably scare away some teams.
Yeah, I don't know who is willing to necessarily pay the price. Obviously, again, if a contending team has a third base injury, something to make note of. The Yankees, it could be interesting. He's got a good bat. If he's healthy at that point in the season, could be worth a flyer, depending again on what the price is. I'm just quickly running through all these teams in my head. Maybe Boston. We'll see how they're working out at third base at that point in the season.
The Mets.
Seattle, they just lost Suarez. Donovan's probably going to play third for them, but you could theoretically move him to second. For Buxton, I think the Phillies is an interesting team to watch. Absolutely for him. Maybe even the Padres could be interesting.
So how likely is it that any of these guys just end up on the Dodgers?
Man, I feel like you can't count that out. I don't know. I feel like
I think maybe Joe Ryan. I just don't. With the Tucker signing, Buxton feels like where are you going to play him? Like does he even crack their lineup? Sounds terrifying, but kinda. And same deal with Royce Lewis. Are you benching Max Muncy for Royce Lewis?
Unless injuries,
again, in a vacuum, would I take Royce Lewis over Max Muncy? Yes, but if you're the Dodgers, are you actually putting assets out there to Minnesota to get Royce Lewis when you have Max Muncy? Probably not.
Now, with the Twins, what do we see defining their 2026 season? They have some youth, but not a lot. They have some vets, but nobody great outside of the guys that are already established on their roster. Are they likely to do a lot of losing? A lot of injuries like they have every year? What's going to define their season?
This isn't the first team that I've predicted this for, but I think if everything goes right for the Twins, people will look back at the 2026 season as the year they traded for blank. The year we got blank prospect in the deal, whoever that turns out to be, the year we got blank from blank.
Right. In addition, the year Walker Jenkins, or whoever.
Right. And then you start to see some of their young guys move up and play. But if in the ideal world, it's we moved one or two of our big pieces for a prospect that turned out to be a superstar for us.
All right, now to the Royals. So far, free agency has been kind of a bust. The White Sox, the Twins, they did not give out a lot of money, no really big signings. Let's see if that stays the same for the Royals. They added Lane Thomas in free agency, the outfielder, 1 year, $5.25 million. Alex Lange, a reliever, 1 year, $900K, big spenders there. They gave Salvador Perez, their possible future Hall of Fame catcher, an extension, 2 years, $25 million. They also extended Michael Garcia, their all-star third baseman, 5 years, $57.7. They traded for Matt Strahm from Philly. They traded for Nick Mears from Milwaukee. Those are two relievers. Another pitcher, Mitch Spence from the A's. Isaac Collins, an outfielder from Milwaukee. Cameron Misner from Tampa Bay. He's an outfielder. And then Mason Black, a starter from San Fran. So they added a bunch of guys. No big trade. No big signings. I would say probably their biggest move was Matt Strahm.
I would think so, yeah.
So getting a Phillies cast-off to bolster your bullpen. John, as a Philly fan, how do you feel now with that trade being a little ways away now?
Yeah, it's like, well, at the moment, it's just, I don't know. I feel like whatever. I'm not too high on the Phillies, to be completely honest with you.
Because of this damn Strom trade.
Not this Strom trade, but some other moves and just how Dombrowski has been handling this offseason and stuff.
Before I go on to who the Royals are lost in free agency, I do want to get your opinion real quick, and we'll revisit this in a couple weeks. Is Bryce Harper on the Phillies opening day roster?
I would say so, probably, yes. I would think he's going to be there.
You did have to think a little bit, and that's the scary part.
I was thinking because he's playing on WBC. That's what I was thinking. So I was thinking, but he should be there.
All right, so the Royals, they lost Adam Frazier to L.A., the Angels, that is, a utility man. Mike Yastrzemski, the outfielder, to Atlanta. Hunter Harvey, a reliever, to the Cubs. Kyle Wright, a starter, to the Cubs. M.J. Melendez, an outfielder, failed catcher, to the Mets. Taylor Clark, a reliever, he went to Arizona. Randall Grichuk, the outfielder, he's still a free agent, but he's a little older now. Michael Lorenzen, one of the best hitting starting pitchers I've ever seen. He went to Colorado. Angel Zerpa, he was a reliever. Now he's on Milwaukee. And then Jonathan Bolin, a reliever. He's on Philly. Now, the Royals, they moved the fences in at Kauffman. How is that going to affect the offense and pitching of the team? Because they lacked a lot of power and good offense last year.
Well, yeah, this is a big thing, I think, for the Royals season. Bobby Witt's going to be Bobby Witt, an MVP level player. Could he, push himself? Last year, he had 23 homers. Could Bobby Witt get himself over the 30 mark? I think if Bobby Witt had an amazing season and was 40-40, he might actually have a real shot at winning the MVP award. To me, the Royal season will be defined by how much run production they get out of guys not named Bobby Witt. And the two names I'm specifically looking at are Pasquantino and Caglianone. Can those two guys combine for 60-plus homers? If so, I think the Royals will be a playoff team. If not, I don't know if they have the run production necessary to make the playoffs this year.
Like, the Royals already have their MVP player. Like, they already have their cornerstone player.
Yep.
Now you're just looking at the other pieces of the team to pull their weight. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I like their starters as well. I like the bullpen, 4 guys that I think you could trust, in Estevez, Urseg, Strom, and Schreiber. So I think the Royals have a really solid team here. I think that they'll be in the playoff hunt come September.
And I was going to ask, what do the Royals need to do to replicate what they did in 2024, making the playoffs? They were a really good team. Bobby Witt was a MVP contender.
I think that they have the roster to do it. I think it's just kind of now about production. And obviously easier said than done, but obviously you know what you're going to get out of Bobby Witt. I just talked about it, the power with Pasquantino and Caglione. Salvador Perez had 30 homers last year. If he could produce in that way again while getting extra bumps from some of the other guys, then the Royals could be in some real business and start pushing for this division. Michael Garcia, Kyle Isbell, Jonathan India, like there's solid pieces throughout the lineup. Cole Reagans is a name to watch. I don't know if, Cy Young bubble-esque player, and then Waka, Lugo, Bubic, again, players that I really like.
Also, Bobby Witt Jr. had a down year last year from like 2024 because he only had 88 RBIs from 109 in 2024 where he batted 332. So you're looking at him to break that 100 RBI mark again, and I think that's probably
hopefully guys get on in front of
push.
But that's
real,
it. Yeah, like last year, Bobby Witt, like you mentioned, he batted 295. Like the guy nearly batted 300 and is bats in the heart of the lineup and couldn't get 100 RBIs.
I think a lot of this rests on the Royals needing another, maybe not even superstar, just high above average player. They're lacking that Robin to Bobby Witt's Batman. Pasquantino, really solid player, really good player, but he's not a number 2 on a team. Can Caglione be that guy? We know Salvador Perez is older. He's not going to be able to take on that role. Michael Garcia was good, but I don't know if he can take that next step to being that number 2. So who, in addition to Bobby Witt, will be that second guy that could lead the Royals offense? Because it just can't be Witt. And you have a bunch of, really good players, but you need at least one more really great player, I think, in order to take that next jump.
I agree.
Now for the Detroit Tigers. They brought back Justin Verlander, 1 year, $13 million. I would expect this to be Verlander's last year. Give him that swan song in Detroit. I think he's somebody who will have his number retired by both the Tigers and the Astros.
Yeah.
Because of how incredible he was for both teams.
Agreed.
Maybe this will be the storybook ending to a Hall of Fame career. But Verlander's also said he wants to pitch till he's like 50, so who knows? They also brought in Framber Valdez, starter, 3 years, $115 million. Kenley Jansen, a reliever, 1 year, $11. Kyle Finnegan, a reliever, 2 years, $19. Drew Anderson, a starter, 1 year, $7. They traded for Johan Simon from Toronto, a reliever, but they lost quite a few names. They lost Alex Cobb, a starter, to free agency, who's still out there. Tommy Kahnle, a reliever in free agency, he's still out there. Rafael Montero, reliever, he's on the Yankees. Randy Dobnak, pitcher, he's on Seattle. Jose Urquidy, a pitcher, he's on Pittsburgh. Chris Paddock, one of their starters, he's on Miami now. Jason Foley, a reliever, on San Fran. Paul Sewald, another pitcher, he's on Arizona. Andy Ibanez, he's an infielder, he's on Arizona, or the A's, I should say. And then Alex Lange, we just talked about him, he's on the Royals now as a reliever. So they lost a lot. So what is the Skubal, aspect of this, where there's a lot of rumors about will he get traded? Could he get traded? How is that going to mess with the roster and their team and their heads? Because a lot of guys don't like hearing their names in trade talks. It doesn't allow them to really focus on the present.
We had a similar conversation last year about the Padres. And I remember you and Ben very much so thought that the Padres ownership and some of their players being up for trade was going to be a problem. And I didn't feel that way for the same reason that I don't feel that way about Detroit, because this team is a playoff caliber roster with a World Series upside. And while I don't think that the Tigers' success is built for a massive, strong 162 where they're winning 100 plus games and they're the 1 seed in the AL, I don't think there's any denying that this team's built for playoff success. As anti-American as Tarek Skubal is, you're not going up against a team that's got a better starter than him in the AL playoffs. That is an automatic massive advantage. And now the rotation is better. Framber Valdez behind him is elite. And another really strong lefty. Some ballparks, that's not favorable, but most it is. And most teams going up against two strong lefties to open up, not a great spot. And then, oh yeah, third game, Jack Flaherty. And if a fourth game, I mean, I'm not betting against Verlander as the 4. And I mean, listen, it'll probably be Mize, but Verlander at the pen. Now, listen, this bullpen does need to get a little bit better. But these are moves you can make at the deadline. They might just bring back Tommy Kahnle. If they brought back Tommy Kahnle, I'd feel much more confident about the bullpen where it stands today. I like Jansen. I like Vest. I like Holton. Kahnle, you could bring him back. And then I look at the lineup. Torkelson, could he take a leap? Gleyber Torres was really solid for them last year. Javi Baez kind of had some good runs in there, which is kind of the most you could ask for. Carpenter, Green, Meadows. I like McKinstry. This is a team that the lineup is good enough that if they get to the postseason, that starting pitching is so nasty that no team could overlook them, and they could go on a run.
And I feel like out of all the teams in the AL Central here, like they've had the best offseason out of all of them, and made like the best moves, in my opinion. Like they've added the most pieces to their team. Like that is going to be impactful.
I mean, getting Valdez.
Just with Framber Valdez,
Yeah.
just makes
Massive.
your team like 10 times better.
And again, I envision this team being buyers at the deadline. And there's been a lot of rumors about the Padres. If Manny Machado's available, Detroit should pick up the phone. Because if you add Manny Machado to the heart of this lineup, all of a sudden that World Series ceiling seems much more like just World Series contender.
It puts you on that level, and that kind of brings me to what I want to ask next is Detroit's offense is what seems to me what separates them from the rest of the contenders. They have an elite pitching staff, but their offense, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, talked about Gleyber, Javi Baez, you got a prospect in Kevin McGonigal, who's really, really great. Do they have enough right now to compete with some of the best offenses in baseball?
Yes, because of their pitching. So I don't know if you mean compete when we look at the lineups or compete in a game.
In a slugfest, can we see them out slugging the Dodgers or the Blue Jays or the Yankees or even the Red Sox?
I'm going to go with no currently. If their starting pitcher is getting lit up, they're probably not winning the game, to be quite frank. Maybe we see Torkelson take like a massive jump and all of a sudden he's like top 5 in AL MVP and he's hitting 40 bombs and he turns into Pete Alonso. And then I kind of change my tone on the matter. But where it currently stands, nah. If they're in a position where they're having to score 6-7 runs consistently to win, I don't think so. But I also just don't envision them being in that spot.
But then again, adding a guy like Manny Machado, like you said, I think puts them now in that conversation.
Then you start to feel like they're one, albeit pretty close to premier bat away, but they're one big acquisition away from really being viewed. Right now, I think they have World Series upside, but I wouldn't call them a true contender.
Right.
If they had Machado, I'd call him a true contender.
I feel like just through 162, I feel like there's no doubt, like with what they have offensive wise, they are a playoff team. I feel like they're almost locked in to be a playoff team. And if they make it to the playoffs, I think just that 1-2 punch of Skubal and Valdez, like just I think can get you pretty far. Because I think pitching
so
wins.
Nasty.
Because pitching is like king in the playoffs. So I mean,
yeah.
Because I mean, if your starting pitching is doing good, all you need to do is score 1 run, and then if your pitching can help you, I mean, shut them out. Like it doesn't matter. So I think they're about
that's why
fringe.
they went
They're
toe to toe
fringe.
with Seattle, who went toe to toe with Toronto, who went toe to toe with the Dodgers. I mean,
as of now, they're fringe World Series contenders.
Agreed.
But they're still contenders all the same. And now the Guardians, who are the reigning AL Central champions. Another strong free agent class. Really, the Tigers seem to be the only team in this division that realized that it was free agency and realized that you're supposed to bring in guys to get you better because they're the only ones that did anything. The Guardians, they added Sean Armstrong 1 year, $5.5 million as a reliever. Colin Holderman, another reliever, 1 year, $1.5 million. Connor Brogdon, another reliever, 1 year, $900K. And just for John, I threw in Rhys Hoskins on a minor league deal to play first
I'm-
base minors.
I mean, I think he is going to be their
He's gonna be
day one starter.
Yeah,
not Manzardo.
I don't think so. I think Hoskins is going to start for this team.
Hoskins will be up at some point in the season. I'm honestly surprised.
I
the
think
Mets
he'll
didn't
be.
sign
I
him.
think Hoskins and Manzardo will be first base DH. Like I think they're both going to be in the lineup. I mean, that's what Fangraphs is projecting, and like I agree with it.
They did extend Jose Ramirez 7 years, 175, which a little light for the talent that he is. Took a bit of a discount.
Does he know he's good? Like, does he know he's?
I don't know if he knows he's good.
I mean, no disrespect when I say this. Like, does he really love Cleveland like that much? Like I try and mean no. I try and mean no disrespect, but
he's
like,
what LeBron should have been.
Does he? Well, no. LeBron shouldn't have devalued himself by half to stay. Like, I mean, seriously, Jose Ramirez could have. I don't know. Did he see Class A like lose all that money and go, "Oh snap! I better secure my bag now"? Like, I don't understand what happened there because this is an MVP caliber player who easily could have asked for $40 million a year. I mean, we just watched Bo Bichette get what was his AAV? Was it 60? Am I tripping?
I don't know if Bichette was 60, but it was really, really high.
Like, I mean, obviously it was a shorter term deal.
45?
Bo Bichette contract was 3 years, 126. So that's 42.
42.
You're like Bo Bichette got $12 million more a year than Jose Ramirez.
Ridiculous.
Bo Bichette, by the way, have you guys seen some of like the spring training fielding videos?
Yeah.
Like, yuck, dude.
Is he
I don't know. I'd flip Simeon over to third right now.
I mean, who would have thought that a guy who's known to being a terrible shortstop defensively would be just as bad, if not worse, at third?
And listen, we're not talking about the Mets here, so I'm not going to go too far in. It doesn't mean I'm not going to think the Mets will win a lot of games because that lineup's juiced, but you get into the nitty-gritty of the playoffs and all of a sudden somebody hits a line drive to third base and this guy can't make the play. That could be, you know what I mean? Like as Yankee fans, we know that'll catch up to you at one point.
Especially in the versus the Dodgers in the playoffs.
It'll catch up to you if you can't field.
Austin Hedges, also the catcher, 1 year, $4 million extension. They lost Sam Hentges, pitcher, to San Fran. Will Brennan, an outfielder, to San Fran. And then big Christmas, Jhonkensy Noel. Worst TV camera angle in a playoff flyout I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's with Baltimore now, the outfielder, first baseman. Cleveland didn't do much coming off of a division title. And we can't help but think that a lot of this has to do with the ongoing Class A issues. Is that still going to be weighing them down, Class A, and the whole, throwing pitches?
I think we're going to see a change of the guard. No pun intended there, but we're going to see. I think we're going to see Bazana called up this year. I think we're going to see Stephen Kwan moved at the deadline. I think it's possible that Cade Smith gets moved. I think that they want Ramirez to be a part of that future, and I don't think that they want this to be some massive, long overhaul. But I do think that Cleveland understands they're not some massive free agent destination and probably wants to do some 1-for-2 deals, maybe 1-for-3 deals on prospects to try and fill out this roster a little bit better. I know as Yankee fans, we've talked about what would we send for Stephen Kwan? Would we send Jason Dominguez plus? Probably. If you're Cleveland, I feel like that's an appetizing deal for you to fill out your roster, get younger, and save money.
Now, Jose Ramirez will be turning 34 at the end of the season, so I don't know how much more future.
Well, that's what I said. I don't think that they want it to be some long haul turnaround. The way that they are moving to me says that they're trying to bridge a gap where they are competing very shortly with Jose Ramirez on the roster, but flipping everything else around. Not everything, because
Right.
obviously, like, some players will stay, but I think that they understood, not that they got lucky last year, but if it was not for a really strong end of the season, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. And then when they did make the playoffs, they were wild
Right.
card exits. Like, I don't think that and I think it's smart that they didn't just buy so much into the hype of how last year ended on a smaller sample size and understood, hey, let's see if we can kind of flip this around. That way, towards the end of Jose's career, we're a competitive team that actually could have World Series aspirations.
Now, another thing holding the Guardians back is their rotation. You have Tanner Bibby, Gavin Williams, Slade Ciccone, Logan Allen, Paul Messick, Joey Cantillo. Guys that are, fine. You don't
You'd
really
love
have
for
any
that to be your
world
2 through
beaters.
5. You'd rather a different one in there.
A Framber Valdez would have done pretty well in this rotation.
I agree.
Or really, maybe you could have brought
Cease,
in Cease is still out there.
he's not still out there. He's with Toronto, but he was available.
He was available. But then Griffin Canning was another guy that would have made a lot of sense to bring in some depth. So going in with this rotation, I don't love. And it's kind of disappointing to see what they're doing. I don't know.
They're like AL Brewers, though, where it's
Yeah.
like, are we really going to bet against them?
They really are. And, the Rays were the AL Brewers for a while in that sense, too. Like, how do you really discount them when they have a bunch of nobodies?
Like, this team was just in an ALCS 2 years ago.
They were. So let's now make our predictions. Now, as always,
favorite part when we get to hear whatever Ben texted Corey.
Now, as always, I'm going to read the Pacoda projections in addition to ours. Do we want to? Let's start at the bottom again.
Yep.
Pacoda has the White Sox as the worst team. 69 wins, 93 losses.
I don't have the White Sox as the worst team. I have the Twins as the worst team.
So do I. I just can't really believe in the Twins right now.
I have the White Sox.
So, John, you have the White Sox.
Yes.
Dylan, you have the Twins.
I have the Twins.
Ben also has the Twins.
Okay. Some White Sox belief in the chat.
Fourth place, Pacoda has the Cleveland Guardians, 75 and 87. This is where I put the White Sox.
This is also where I put the White Sox.
And this is where I put the Twins.
This is where Ben put the White Sox.
All right.
They have now the Twins at third place, Pacoda, at 79 and 83. So maybe Pacoda is this week's Ben.
Maybe. Pacoda believing in the Twins.
79 and 83 for the Twins. This is where I have Cleveland.
This is also where I have Cleveland.
I have Cleveland here too.
And so does Ben. Now, second place, Pacoda has the Tigers at 84 and 78. This is where I have the wild card team, the Kansas City Royals.
This is where I have the non-playoff Kansas City Royals.
I have the wild card team, the Kansas City Royals here too.
And Ben has the Detroit Tigers.
Playoffs? Or we don't know.
We don't know.
Okay.
Now, Pacoda has the Royals winning the division at 85 and 77. I have the Tigers winning the division here.
I as well have the Tigers. I think that they finish around the 88 win mark. I don't think that they have a 90-plus win or regular season, and if so, it's low 90s. But again, this is a team that I think is more built for a playoff format than a 162.
Yeah. So, John, that means you have.
I also have the Tigers by process of elimination, and I have them around like 87, 88 wins and stuff.
Yeah, I'm right.
So I think just with the pitching, I think that gets them a long way, even with 162.
I'm right around there with you. Maybe closer to 90 is my floor, 89, 90.
I have 88 written down.
Yeah. Then Ben has the Royals at winning the division.
Not a crazy week from Ben.
But again, Pacoda, though, with the Twins at almost 80 wins.
Yeah, that was crazy. I don't know if the Twins win 70, let alone 80. But I also think the Twins are just massive sellers at the deadline. So, like, again, this is the
Right.
risk of what's baked into my prediction here.
Now, I'll be honest, when I was writing down my predictions, I had the White Sox in fourth, the Twins in fifth, and I thought I was going to get a little ridicule for being a little crazy on that just because of how bad the White Sox were, but I just felt like I was a little higher on them. And I mean, I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one that sees, the improvement from last year and some of the talent they added.
So, our updated AL playoffs, I have Astros winning the West, Tigers winning the Central, and Mariners as a wild card team. You guys have 4 playoff teams already, correct?
I mean, I have the two
I believe
division winners,
Yeah.
and I have just one wild card.
You guys didn't have Houston making the playoffs.
Correct. You had Houston, Seattle.
Mhm.
Me and John just had Seattle winning the division, and Ben
Yeah.
had Seattle winning the division.
Okay, so we're all at 3. So we
We're
all
all at
think
3.
3 AL East teams will make the playoffs. Got it.
No. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 AL
Yeah.
East. That's right.
And we're out of divisions, buddy. I'm not spoiling anything. Which 3? We don't
Which
know yet.
3 would be interesting to find out. That'll be, though, in a few weeks. Do we have any final thoughts on the AL Central?
I think Bobby Witt, if Ben's prediction and Pacoda's prediction reigns true, could make the MVP discussion interesting this year.
Not the first time we would have done that.
So that's something to watch out for. And again, watch the Tigers at the deadline, man. If they're winning this division, and especially if they're winning it comfortably, I wouldn't be shocked to see them kind of push all their chips on. And maybe it's the last year of Scooble, probably the last year of Verlander. Go try and get a ring.
Why not? But that's going to do it for us. Corey, Jason, Dylan, Mel, John, Pauline, talking AL Central on the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast.